Hey guys, it's Kev here with Off the Bandwagon, here to break down NFL Week 2. It's another episode of NFL Abridged. I feel like I owe you folks an apology. Here it is Thursday, and we are just now putting out NFL Abridged Week 2. Unfortunately, your boy Sean has been busy, and your boy Kev here has been sick. But it's Thursday. It's time for that Week 3 noise, so here we are. Let's get to it, and let's make it quick, because we got a lot of previews to go through today. So let's start about a week ago, with the Houston Texans taking on the Bengals. So, AJ McCarron time, right? Anybody? So, Andy Dalton is on the struggle bus. He might be driving it. The Bengals would probably be better served to just pick a running back and stick with it. I'm going to go ahead. I have the same thought towards their running back situation as I do towards their quarterback situation. You've been going at it with the trio of Dalton, Hill, and Bernard for some time now. It's only gotten you to a certain point. So, let's see what we have with Mixon. I'm not ready to start A.J. McCarron yet if I'm a Bengals fan, but I am darned close, my dudes. What can Andy do that he hasn't done for you already, Bengals fans? Somebody let me know why Andy Dalton should still be starting. AJ McCarron, it's shit or get off the pot time for that guy. Many a team has been in this situation before. Look at the good old McCown back in Chicago. It goes all the way back to Matt Schaub in Atlanta when Vic went down. We have seen this 100 times. Matt Castle, Jimmy Garoppolo. So who knows? It's kind of a crapshoot here. But my thought on it is why don't you see what you have with McCarron, because I don't think anybody's knocking on your door to take Andy Dalton from you, but you might be able to get something out of McCarron. So maybe start him a couple of games, and if it's looking good, make a move before the deadline, because I imagine the Bengals will be a sub-500 team when we approach this trade deadline. Now, I went a little longer on this game than I wanted to, but let's talk about the Texans for a second and not give Deshaun Watson the Rookie of the Year quite yet. If you watch that game, you'll see that outside of the two scrambling highlights, Deshaun looked very much like a rookie quarterback, right? So I don't think things are going to go very well for him throughout this entire season. I think it's going to be a struggle. He reminds me a lot of RG3. I'm going to look at my first read, and then I'm gone. I'm going to be out here scooting, trying to get that first down. That doesn't do so well in the NFL. Again, ask Robert about that. There are plenty of guys, ask Johnny Manziel about that. If you can't get it done in the pocket, you will not get it done on Sundays on a regular basis. So going into week 3, I look for the Bengals again to continue their skit. The Texans, however, I could see them, just kidding. They're playing the Patriots this week. They are going to get smoked. Okay, moving on. Bills-Panthers, week 2. Real snooze fest, 9-3. Both these teams have offensive questions. The problem is you expected them from Buffalo. Most of us had hoped Carolina might have figured something out with the addition of Christian McCaffrey, hopefully opening things up. I know a lot of people went high on Kelvin Benjamin in fantasy this year, thinking that better running back play would open up the field a little bit. They have weapons, man. They have great tight end. They got wide receivers. They got running backs. They have Cam Newton. I imagine this team rights the ship soon. The Bills, see you next year, guys. But Tyrod Taylor's going to keep throwing to his, the only viable fantasy options right now in Buffalo are LaShawn McCoy and the tight end, Charles Clay. So, anyway, moving on to Vikings-Steelers. That was a game that could have been good. It's just too bad Samwise Bradford couldn't make it. Most teams are going to beat a Case Keenum-led football team. So really not much to go over there. I think the Vikings, they have a good chance to bounce back this week. And they're playing the Buccaneers. So we will that's a tough one. If Bradford's back, I think they'll take it down. But we'll get to Tampa here in a little bit. They've been a bit of a pleasant surprise. Maybe. We'll see. They had a bye week, and basically 2 bye weeks. They played the Bears in week 2. And what we learned from I'll just jump to the Bears-Buccaneers real quick. 29-7, Buccaneers spanked the Bears. And so what we learned after this week was we learned that the Bears-Falcons week 1 game was more a sign of the Falcons not playing their game than it was the Bears doing really anything well. We will get to the Falcons-Packers game here shortly. But, so Buccaneers, I'm not too high on them yet. I want to see them play a real team. The Bears, again, see you next year, guys. Moving on to the Patriots-Saints. So how are you guys feeling that called the Patriots dynasty over after week 1? I know we were on the front line saying, relax. I did my best Aaron Rodgers impression here on this show. The Pats are fine. Honestly, I was a little surprised. I kind of thought the Saints might win this game with Hightower out again. I thought maybe there was still a chance for that offense to expose the Patriots. I was wrong, and they still dropped 20 on them. But if Tom Brady's going to sling 400 yards, then you're going to be fine. Also, screw you, Tom Brady. You cost me in a fantasy. I was 3-1 in fantasy this week. That 1 is due to you. You greatest of all time, bastard, you. All right, Chiefs, Eagles. This might have been the game of the week, really. It was one of the closer games that actually was entertaining, right? A lot of our other closer games were of the field goal variety. We'll get there a little bit later. But the Chiefs pull out a 27-20 win. The AFC West, is that the best division in football? You guys let me know what you think, because right now I think it is. You got the Chiefs, you got the Raiders, you have the Broncos, who we'll get to here in just a minute and talk about what they did in week 2. And then you have the Chargers, who they're the best 0-2 team out here right now. They've lost 2 games by a combined total of 5 points. So the Chargers, I don't really think that they're as bad as 0-2. That's a team that could still end up around 500. They probably won't challenge for a wild card, though, just because this division is so deep. And then, speaking of the Eagles, Carson Wentz has looked good. Those of you who took a chance on him in fantasy, shout out. That was a good idea. The way the Cowboys looked this week and the way the Giants have looked after 2 weeks, the Redskins squeaked out a win that I didn't expect in week 2, to be honest, after their week 1 performance. But right now, if I'm an Eagles fan, I'm feeling pretty good about my chances at a division title this season. Moving on, here's a team that does not feel good about its division championship status, and that is the New York Jets. They got doubled up by the Raiders, 45-20. Not much to say here, right? The Raiders are good. The Jets are trying to be the worst team in the NFL. I'll talk to your boy Sean B out here. He's our resident Raiders fan. Maybe he'll dive in and give you guys a little more feedback, but this was pretty easy to me. The Raiders are a good team, complete offense, have a good defense, and the Jets are the Jets, man. It's basically a bye this year. Moving on to the next game, which I did not expect to play out like a bye. That was the Broncos-Cowboys, 42-17. Cowboys fans, are we nervous? I don't mean we, but I'm not a Cowboys fan. I'm a Colts fan. My season's been over since the 3rd week of the preseason. But 42-17, and Trevor Siemian, who are you? Who are you? Who? Because that Dallas secondary really wants to know, man. 42-17. Is Siemian legit? Is this going to be something that we can expect going forward? Has this guy won this job? Is he John Elway's boy now? I don't know. I have no idea. This defense fantastic, though. C.J. Anderson finally showed up. A healthy Jamal Charles could really, if he lasts throughout the season, be a real nice addition to this Broncos squad. They have great receivers. I'm going to say it right here, right now. If anybody has a better option for this, go ahead. Let's argue about that. I will put my money right now. Emmanuel Sanders is the best route runner in the NFL, bar none, hands down. No one runs a route like this guy does. The next time you see a Broncos game on offense, just try to watch him. Watch how good his routes are. When they show you the highlights of his catches, you notice he creates space for himself better than any receiver in the league, simply because his routes are precise, they are accurate, he has great footwork. One of the best unsung, people know who he is. I think he is underrated as far as one of the top wide receivers in this league. Cowboys will bounce back, okay? Will we see somewhat of a Dak Prescott sophomore slump? I imagine we will. There's a full season worth of game tape to look at this guy. But he has all the weapons that he needs. That Cowboy defense clearly is where they need some help. In the offseason, people might not have thought, the loss of a Barry Church would be a big deal and on the losses that they dealt with in the defensive secondary. But you're seeing it now, right? Well, the one thing people had to say about the Broncos going into the season, that's a Super Bowl defense with no offense, so they can't go anywhere. They dropped 42 on you. 42. So the Cowboys, it's gut check time. We'll see what they bring. They're our Monday nighter this week. So don't worry, we got the Thursday night, the primetime games. We do those as separate previews. So I got nothing but Cowboy Cardinal talk coming for you guys soon. So let's move on to the Cardinals, who beat my Colts 16-13 in what would have been the most boring game of the afternoon. It's edged out a little bit by Panthers, Bills, Bucks, Bears, and then Seahawks, 49ers. Ooh, Seahawks fans, you scared yet? Colts fans are scared. Jacoby Brissett's looking like the man of the future. There's rumors Andrew Luck doesn't want to be there anymore. I don't. That one doesn't make sense to me. This isn't the NBA. He's not Kyrie Irving. I don't know how easy it is to try to move a guy like that. But maybe this is why we're not seeing him this season. I don't know. I'm really confused. Fellow Colts fans, if you have any thoughts on this, the only thought I have right now is thank God the Scott Tolzien era is over. Philip Dorsett, unfortunately, we traded him to the one team where he'll actually be able to make something of himself because the Patriots will turn him into a weapon. I guarantee it. Pip Dorsett, the letdown of the Colts over the past couple of years, will definitely be a weapon going forward for Tom Thumb. Colts really should have had this one. They let this one slip. I sincerely apologize for that, folks. But Chuck Pagano actually finally pulled a smart coaching move, or at least it looked that way. One of the rare times you see the old timeout before the field goal work. Sending it into overtime, but then, of course, Jacoby Brissett waits until overtime to make his big mistake. The interception cost the Colts the game. Colts fans, this would be the year, right, to try to make a move. Because if not, they're going to end up being in the basement. I am scared that the former perennial AFC South champion is going to be in last place this year. When I look up at that Jaguars defense, the Titans offense, which put the Jags defense to work. We'll get to that in a few minutes. And, of course, the Texans, who, despite their bad quarterback situation, might have a little bit better of one right now. I'm not certain I wouldn't take Tom Savage over Jacoby Brissett. Anyway, Cardinals ought to be worried. Without David Johnson, they almost lost to the Colts. I imagine they are going to have a rough night against the Cowboys. That defense will make it close, but offensively, their offense is going to shoot them in the foot. Again, I'll save that for later. Browns, Ravens. Ravens looking pretty good, a lot better than I expected in the AFC North. I expected a down year with the Flacco injury and the fact that they were considering Kaepernick, and they signed a quarterback onto their practice squad that had negative career passing yards in college. I was a little worried about how they were going to move the ball, and they did pretty well. The Browns, after their week one, now that was the thing. Everybody thought, wow, the Browns are going to be good this year. But correct me if I'm wrong, but is the Pittsburgh-Cleveland game basically the Super Bowl for the Browns every year? Because that's been my experience. Growing up in northeastern Ohio, going to college in Toledo, surrounded by Cleveland fans, it felt like there's the one thing they got up for each year were those, I guess the two things, right? The two Steelers games. So we didn't see that same intensity, that same hustle against the Ravens, and they go down by 14. I do expect the Browns to win more than 3 games. I was going to say win more than 4. I expect them to get 4 or 5. But they're that team, right, that they lose a bunch of games by 7 to 10 points. They're in it almost every week. We'll see what they've got this week. They've got the Colts, and my Colts are an underdog at home. So the Browns will probably pick up their first win. It's going to hurt, but my boy DeSean Kaiser will get his first W, so there's that. Titans beat the Jags by 3 touchdowns. Talk about a team that needs a quarterback. The Jaguars have everything else. Allen Robinson going down, that will hurt them. Probably will affect their playoff run this season. I don't think this is a playoff team this year. I think it's a playoff team next year if they can answer that quarterback question. The Titans right now are my favorite to win this division. As odd as that seems, and they're a well-balanced team. They added some things on offense, gave Mariota some weapons, 2 great running backs, and the division is just weak. So they've got that going for them. Dolphins, led by Smokin' Jay Cutler, took on the San Diego Superchargers. I'm still calling them San Diego because they had like 20 people in their stadium for their home opener in L.A. I'm not going to jump the gun and say this was a dumb move. I think it was a dumb move. But I'm not willing to commit to that because these guys who own NFL football teams and stuff, they're clearly better businessmen than I am. So maybe there's something I don't know here. I think LA was a bad decision. They didn't want the Chargers. They wanted the Rams. They didn't want you guys. You just got mad that San Diego wouldn't build you a new stadium, that the city wasn't willing to pay for it. And now your franchise might get hurt severely by this. So we'll see. I think maybe it's time to move the Chargers to Mexico City. It's time to have a Mexican and a Canadian team in the NFL. Let's go. You guys tell me what you think about that. Rather than going to London for 9:30 games. Or just send Jacksonville to London because no one cares about Jacksonville. I don't even think Jacksonville cares. Get them out of there. Anyway, Chargers, they are looking to bounce back against the Chiefs. I think they're going to be the best 0-3 team in the league. We'll get to the previews later, but the Chargers have another tough ride for them. The Dolphins get the Jets, so they get a nice little JV game to warm up. And speaking of JV games, when we look at the Seahawks-Niners, makes you wonder if both teams had their second-string offense out there. Well, the 49ers offense is a second-string offense anywhere else in the league, outside of maybe Pierre Garçon. Again, I apologize for the cough, fellas. Seahawks pulled this one out. I'm scared if I'm a Seahawks fan. You got the Rams scored more points. Granted, they were playing the Redskins instead of the Niners, but the Rams dropped 20. I don't think the Seahawks are a wrap in the West the way I used to. I mean, yeah, the Cardinals are down. But the Rams, this is going to be one of those divisions that it might be like a 9-7. I think this is going to be the down division this year. We've noticed a trend over the past few years, whether it be the AFC South a few years ago or the NFC South a few years ago. We've had this trend of there being that one division that's kind of garbage, and they'll have an 8-8 or a 9-7 or in some cases a 7-9 team making the playoffs. To me, this year that's the NFC West. It's going to be a hard-fought division. The AFC South, to me, is the worst division in football, but the NFC West is a close second. It's a lot of 9-12 scores like this is what I anticipate. Seahawks stay alive, so they're going to keep moving on. But they have the Titans this week at Nashville, so we'll see. That'll be this week's matchup will really answer some questions about both those teams, I do believe. And we had some other questions answered. In that Redskins-Rams game, the Redskins bounced back. Like I said, the Rams, they did drop 20, so that was good. But for that defense to give up 27, they get Aaron Donald back this week. I fully expect a bounce back from the Rams. They are playing tonight, of course, against the 49ers. So if the Rams can score, as long as they hit double digits, they're going to win. I don't anticipate 49ers, if they only put 3 field goals up on the Seahawks, they're not getting much more up on that Rams defense. I think those defenses... I'm not going to say one's better than the other. I think they're at least equals. Sunday night game, the Falcons took care of the Packers. The Falcons bounced back. They showed a little weakness against the Bears. That was week 1, though. Sometimes it takes teams, they're a little slower getting out of the gate. But that home opener, that new stadium, that home crowd, they took care of it. Took care of business, and they are moving forward. Going into this week with a matchup against the Lions, which, again, that's the next and final game for us to review this week was the game from a couple nights ago, Lions-Giants. But Falcons against Lions, that'll be an interesting matchup. That one I cannot wait to preview for you guys, but the Falcons looking pretty good. The Packers, not really need to worry right now. The Lions are their only threat. I take that back. If the Vikings could be a threat. I'm not worried if I'm the Packers, though, because They're a playoff caliber team, and like I said, the NFC in general kind of feels a little down, right? The Saints. I don't really expect a playoff team out of the Saints. Maybe the Eagles and Cowboys as far as the East goes. I don't see the Giants or the Redskins being a playoff team. You're only going to get one team out of the NFC West, so it could be a tougher year than normal for the Packers, but the Lions have to prove it first. So right now, I still got the Packers as the favorite, despite the way Week 2 went down. And that leads us to our roundup. I don't know. I think I just had a stroke. The Lions 24-10 over the Giants. Giants look bad. Lions went out and won a primetime game on the road. They seem to be making those steps finally from perennial loser to regular contender. Matt Stafford is a good quarterback. They have all the weapons. That defense, man, Ziggy Ansah, that pass rush was great. If you don't have a good left tackle, you should probably run some 2 tight end sets against this team. And the Giants can't run the ball, so the Giants find themselves in the shotgun way too often, and that was a perfect recipe for this Lions defense. So, scared if I'm the Giants, really excited if I'm a Lions fan, but there is so much season left to go, guys. And with that, it is time that I leave you, beautiful people. We've got Thursday night breakdown coming right up here in a few minutes, breaking down the Rams-Niners. That should take me all of 3.5 minutes to do. So I look forward to talking to you guys then. Have a great day, and know always that I love you. Find us at baddinnerguest.com, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff at Bad Dinner Guests. Also find the sports program as Off the Bandwagon. Same stuff. All right, thanks, guys. Love you.